By far, the easiest way to install Bootstrap is to use the CDN code. Now, this is a great option if you're going to be using the standard Bootstrap version because it'll be faster for most of your users. A CDN is a content delivery network, which means a place that hosts common libraries like Bootstrap. Let's go ahead and build a page with a minimal Bootstrap installation using CDN links. So I've got my Bootstrap folder opened up in my text editor. I'm using Sublime Text. And the first thing we're going to need is a basic index.html page. So I'm going to go right here into my folder and select New File. And I'm going to call this index.html. And in here, I'm going to type in some very basic HTML code. And now we're going to need to add some additional links and HTML. Now, although you can get these from the Bootstrap website, I've created a special gist where you can get everything in a single place. So I'm going to go ahead and grab all this and copy it to my clipboard and then come back into my page. And I'm going to put these at the bottom of the page. So I'm just going to grab what I need and then insert it into my template where I need it. All right, first off, there's some things that we're going to need to add to the head section. We're going to place these right after this meta charset tag right here. The first is the XUA compatible tag. This is a special tag that lets Internet Explorer know which version's engine to render the page with. By specifying Edge here, we're saying that we want the latest and greatest rendering engine. This is considered a best practice. So we're going to grab this little piece of code, and that's going to go right there. Let's go ahead and indent it like the other one. Next up is the viewport tag. On a normal website, the browser will display the content on your page normally. However, on a mobile device, if you don't include the viewport tag, the mobile browser will shrink the page down, usually from a size of about 960 pixels, to whatever will fit on your device. Now that causes the mobile browser to display the wrong breakpoint for layouts and makes the fonts appear too small. When we add the viewport tag, the mobile browser understands that this site has been specifically built for mobile devices, so it doesn't shrink the page. And it displays the proper breakpoints, and the fonts will appear at the proper size. What we're going to do to accomplish this is pass along two values. First off, we're going to ask for a device width, and we're going to set that to the natural device width, as well as set the scale to be 1 or 100%. That's to prevent any shrinking that the device would normally do. So I'm going to grab this viewport tag and I'll paste it right here. I don't need any of these other comments anymore. Next up is the Bootstrap CSS. This is the link to the Max CDN website, which has all of the default Bootstrap styles in a minified form so that it's as small as possible. So I'm going to grab this line right here and I'll paste it over here as well. Now, optionally, you can also install a Bootstrap theme that makes Bootstrap have smoother gradients. If you're looking for a flatter design, you should leave this out. So I'm actually going to leave this part right here out of my design or my template and keep on going with the code. Now, if you're planning on supporting IE8, then you should add these next few lines. There are a couple of JavaScript files that add some missing components to IE8 browsers, like some of the newer HTML5 tags and the ability to at least try to deal with responsive breakpoints. If you don't need to support IE8, then you're not going to need these. I'm not going to use them in my template. The next couple of things will go in the footer section. This means right before the closing body tag right here. First, Bootstrap requires jQuery, so you'll need to link to the CDN. I'm using version 1.11.3 because it's what is currently on the homepage of the Bootstrap website. You can use a newer version if you like. So I'm going to grab this one and paste it right there. And then finally, you also need a copy of Bootstrap's JavaScript code. If you don't include this, then although your site will look great, some of the Bootstrap features like the carousel and modals will not work. So we'll grab this script right here and we'll paste it right there, right before the closing body tag. I don't need any of these comments, so I'm going to take those out as well. Now, in addition to this, you may want to add a separate CSS file as well as your own JavaScript document. Let's go ahead and save this as we have it so far. And I'm going to create a couple of folders here. So new folder, This one's going to be called CSS. And I'm going to make another one, and I'll call it JS. And normally in the CSS folder, I'll make a new file called style.css or styles.css, whatever you usually call it. And then in the JavaScript folder, I will save one called script.js. And I need to reference these from my index.html. Now, if you want to add a style sheet to Bootstrap, you want to make sure that you do it after the Bootstrap default styles. That way, your styles can override any of Bootstrap's functionality. So I'm going to use a link tag right here, and I'm going to reference the CSS folder and the styles.css file. So just make sure that you're matching. Sometimes I call these style. Sometimes I call it styles. Make sure that you are putting the right pluralization. It's a little bit hard to debug if you don't get it right. In the same way, we're going to need to call the script document. So we'll do a script tag right here, and the source is going to be the JavaScript folder and then script.js. So that should link to the proper place, and I'm going to go ahead and save that. And one thing you just want to do with these type of things, I'm going to type in some basic default lorem ipsum text, and I'll put these in a paragraph because right before you do anything else, it's a good idea to just test these out to make sure that your links are being referenced correctly and that the website is loading. I'm also going to add a headline here. Headline, and I'm going to save this. And then I'm going to show this in a browser just to make sure that everything is loading properly. So the first thing you should notice is that the fonts will not be the default Times New Roman font, but it should look like Helvetica. And you want to make sure that you do an inspect element on this page just to make sure you don't have any errors in the console. If for some reason you are not loading the files in properly, say you missed one of the names, then you would see an error here in the console, and you want to prevent that. So this is just a great thing to do at the very end when you create any sort of template to make sure that everything's working great. So that's a pretty complete looking template. It's a great place to start your future projects if you want to use CDN links.